why is it that they can't see and change? Like, why?
They see perfectly. Why should they change? This is the philosophical part of the therapeutic process. Like,
I love this part.
but let's think about this. It's working. They're right. They're right. It's working just fine for them. And it may as well be to them like ancient Greek. They don't know what we mean, intimacy and vulnerability. What are these vague notions? I've never felt feelings. I felt rage. I felt lust. I felt envy. No, but intimacy. Can I eat it? Can I have sex with it? I'm not. Can I wear it as a Gucci handbag? No, I'm not. Intimacy, you can keep it. They're fine. They have no interest in changing. Therapy is nothing but an opportunity for them to flex their muscles and stretch their claws and practice what they do. They charm the pants off therapists. They'll say, this is the best therapy. You're so good. I've never had so many revelations.
Because there's a never-ending supply of people.
Yeah.
There's a never-ending supply of people. So since their abuse goes on the outside to protect them, and essentially on the other side of the coin, the codependent is hurting themselves over and over again, they can't escape themselves. So you actually end up reaching a breaking point, unlike a narcissist who just moves on to the next people, which is why you see them have new friends all the time. And they have to keep turning this sort of system over and over and over because they eat them up, right? Like they can eat that Gucci handbag, people. Like they can eat them up over and over and over again. Is that why?
That's it. If it works, if it's the classic grandiose narcissist. Now, if it fails and they're the vulnerable narcissist, so the classic grandiose narcissist thinks they're amazing, and largely they get the world to agree. The vulnerable or fragile narcissist thinks they're amazing, and largely they can't get the world to agree. But yeah, if they can do it, they don't care. They won't miss you. They won't miss you because they don't know you. They don't know who the hell you are. There's only an internalized representation of you drawn in 2D and crayon by a 4-year-old child of you. You will have the experience when you're with them. This person knows me better than my mother, than my father, than God himself. They haven't got a clue who you are. Not a clue. All they're doing is mirroring you.
How did they love bomb the shit out of you to tell you all the things that needed to be heard to buy in?
Because we're open books and we don't know it. We think we're so complicated and so complex, and it's written all over our silly little faces.
And they ask questions too. Like, what is it that I should never do to make sure that this lasts? All you do is tell them the keys to the kingdom of pain.
Yes. Yes. Anything you say can and will be used against you as ammunition and torture later on.
It's so true. Okay, let's talk a little bit of like that cycle. Like, I don't know if people are hanging in there. I'm sure that they probably know this, but like explain this cycle of a narcissist to someone who might not understand.
Yeah, they find you and they idealize you. Then you're drawn into a sort of a covert contract with them through some sort of bait. Now, the bait will either be money or fame or love or access to something. It's pretty demonic, you know. There's a lot of like deals with the devil sort of thing, like contracts and all that goes on. Once they've got you, you enter into a shared fantasy space with them. The shared fantasy was identified by a psychotherapist called Sander in 1989. All of us have a shared fantasy when we're in relationships. It's perfectly normal. But the narcissistic shared fantasy is a very dark one. So the shared fantasy that you're then trapped in sort of functions like the Matrix. You then submerge into a simulated reality. So life with a narcissist has a very unique flavor because it's not real. It's a kind of flight of fancy, a folie à deux, that the two of you have created. You sort of idealize each other, but particularly they idealize you in the love bombing phase, and then you're trapped in a virtual reality simulator of their design. So you will actually genuinely feel better about yourself, you think, but what you're consuming is narcissistic supply, not genuine self-love. So then, sadly, dear viewers, we become addicted to narcissistic supply. And in this way, we become micro-narcissists. It's an infection. You have to become emotionally literate. You must connect with your emotions again. So one of the classic things I get in coaching with people is they'll sort of cry and they'll go, I already did the work. I went to therapy for 10 years. And I'll always say, but if you didn't learn to access and make friends with your emotions again, all of that therapy was for nothing. You must become emotionally literate. You can't live life as an emotional illiterate. It's not going to work. Your emotions are part of you as much as your hands and your feet are. You cannot deny the existence of your hands and live healthily, nor can you deny the existence of your emotions. So where your real self is where your feelings are. I'm not saying become blindly submissive to emotion. Never. We should always use reason first. But how you actually authentically feel about pineapple on pizza is who you are.
I'm really glad you said that, because because your emotions are not something that like, especially if you're more codependent, you have created a relationship with, and they are essentially the root of boundaries. Then is to know yourself, to know how you feel, so you don't, well, you're not even actively abandoning them before that. That's just your pattern. So like, being able to tap into that is definitely a navigation tool out. How was it when you interviewed Sam? How do you pronounce his last name? Vaknin?
Sam Vaknin, yes.
I like saw that a long while back, and I was like, man, what would that be like, knowingly sitting with such a narcissist? And he's like out there. He's one of those guys that's like a self-aware narcissist, but still a narcissist. Does that feel weird? Do you feel like you're always like getting set up or something?
Sam interpersonally is pretty polite, to be honest with you, most of the time. So it's okay for me as a business person and as a professional to do that, but I don't recommend that anybody else engage in contact with him. It's very dangerous. He is openly, as you just said, admittedly a very, very sick man. So people really should bear that in mind at all times and really keep a distance from him. You really have to know what you're doing to be in contact with a man like that.
Speaking of contact, then there's the guy Tudor. He wrote the book No Contact.
H.G. Tudor. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And he is totally like, I mean, I think he even says that his sort of activism around narcissism is being a narcissist.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's interesting. Like, the people who are online who are coming at it from that point of view. But what my like followers and viewers and clients will say is they get a lot from that. They like to hear from people who've been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, because it gives them direct insight into the way those people think.
What do you like philosophizing about? Let me ask that first.
Well, I'll tell you what I like philosophizing about, and I'll answer it in a way that'll be useful to your viewers if they've been in a narcissistically abusive relationship.
Okay.
Moral philosophy is very important. If you're in an abusive relationship and you're looking to get out, and then you're looking to recover, you have to have a very substantial conversation with yourself, with your pastor, with a therapist or somebody about your moral philosophy. And you really need to figure out, we all do, whether you're a codependent or not, because our culture's become incredibly morally relativistic, which is very dangerous for everyone. You really have to figure out for you as an individual what is right and what is wrong. And I don't think there are answers. I don't like rigid dogmatic answers. I like asking the question. I like to be skilled at asking and wrestling with that question. Like, when is it context specific? If it's wrong in this culture, is it right in another? So on and so forth. But I like to have that. That's where I start what is the meaning of life? Why are we here? Is this a simulation? Are narcissists all archons? What's going on?
Oh my God. Well, the first thing I was going to ask was about archetypes, because I thought that'd be such an interesting sort of slight slanted direction to go, is like the archetype of but I changed my question. I want to know how you define morality, because you said earlier when we were talking, we should talk about that. So let's philosophize about morality, but let's start off with, what is that? What is it to you? What is your definition of morality?
Largely speaking, I think it's that simple dichotomy of good versus evil. I think a human being needs to have a sense of, this person or this situation might be attractive, but it's evil, so I'm not going to do it. And I was raised Christian. So for me, it's that's where there is a religious element, there's a spiritual element that comes into it. And I often think of the 7 deadly sins. You know, there's sin, there's sloth, there's rage, there's lust. What's the temptation here? And is this wrong? Now, if it seems to be like it's going to be really fun or really pleasurable, or it's going to give me some payoff in the material realm of the flesh, like it's going to make me famous, it's going to make me rich, there's going to be some pleasure there, there's going to be some payoff there. But I know that it's morally wrong. Am I going to do it or not? Now, if I have a strong moral code in my body somatically, I won't be able to do it. It's not a question of me going, I really want to, but I'm not going to. My body will reject it if I have a strong moral code. If I have a weak moral code, it's going to become a wrestling match between the angel and the devil.
If you like this clip and you want to hear the whole episode, click at the bottom of your screen.